As they neared the building, Mr. Henderson paused and turned to the young boy. "I don't get many people willing to lend a hand anymore," he said with a touch of nostalgia in his voice. "People don't seem to care much these days. But you, Jamie, you're different." Jamie, oblivious to the weight of Mr. Henderson's words, simply shrugged. "I just do what I can. My mom says there's always something you can do for someone else, even if it's just being kind. She works hard, so I help her where I can." Mr. Henderson was deeply moved. It wasn't just the physical help Jamie had offered, but the genuine kindness that radiated from the boy. The old man had seen countless faces in his life, but few had made such an impression. Jamie's selflessness, despite the boy's own difficult circumstances, touched something in Mr. Henderson's heart. He looked at Jamie and said, "You know, you remind me of someone I once knew, someone who made a real difference, even if they didn't have much." Jamie glanced up, not fully understanding the depth of what Mr. Henderson was saying. But he knew one thing for sure. This man was different from others he had encountered. And in his heart, Jamie knew that helping him had been the right thing to do. As Jamie and Mr. Henderson reached the entrance of the building, the elderly man paused and rummaged through his coat pocket. With a sudden gleam in his eye, he pulled out a crumpled lottery ticket. "Here," Mr. Henderson said, holding it out to Jamie with a smile. "Take it. A little something for your kindness. Let's see if luck is on your side today." Jamie blinked in surprise. He wasn't sure why the man was giving him this, but he didn't hesitate to take the ticket. "Thank you, sir," Jamie said, holding it carefully in his hands, unsure of what to make of the gesture. "But I don't really play the lottery." Mr. Henderson chuckled. "Well, maybe it's time you did. Consider it a small token for your help." He winked. "Who knows? Maybe this'll turn your luck around." Jamie smiled, tucking the ticket into his pocket. "Thanks again. I'll see if I can win big," he joked, though he didn't think much of it. It was just a piece of paper with numbers on it. He had more important things to think about: his mother, his school, and how to help make ends meet. That evening, after dinner, Jamie and his mother sat in their small living room. The flickering light of the old TV cast shadows on the walls. His mother had been hesitant to let him go out with Mr. Henderson earlier, warning him about talking to strangers. But when Jamie returned and shared the story of the kind old man, his mother had softened. She had even smiled, appreciating the kindness the stranger had shown Jamie. Now, as the lottery numbers flashed on the TV screen, Jamie absent-mindedly pulled out the ticket Mr. Henderson had given him. He wasn't paying close attention, but as the numbers were read out, something caught his eye. His heart skipped a beat. The numbers on his ticket matched the ones being announced on the screen. Mom, wait," Jamie exclaimed, his voice trembling with excitement. It's the same. I have the winning ticket." His mother's eyes widened as she looked at the ticket and then back at the screen. She couldn't believe it. "No way," she whispered, her voice filled with disbelief. The reality of what had just happened began to sink in. Jamie's $1 lottery ticket had won the grand prize, $5 million. The two of them stared at each other in stunned silence, unable to comprehend the miracle that had just unfolded before them. What started as a simple act of kindness from a stranger had changed their lives forever. Jamie and his mother sat on the couch, staring at the lottery ticket almost in disbelief. The words, "Grand prize winner, $5 million," were emblazoned on the small piece of paper, yet neither of them could fully grasp the weight of it. The enormity of the change they had just experienced was still sinking in. Tears of joy streamed down Jamie's face as he hugged his mother tightly. The life they had known, one of struggle, uncertainty, and endless hardship seemed like it was suddenly fading into the past. This was their moment. The life they had dreamed of, one of comfort and opportunity, was now within reach. "It's real, Mom," Jamie whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "We've won. We're going to be okay." His mother, too, was overwhelmed, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand as she shook her head in disbelief. This can't be happening," she said softly, her voice cracking with joy. She had always worked hard to make ends meet, but there was never enough. And now, in an instant, they had everything they needed. But even in the midst of their joy, Jamie's first thought wasn't about what they could buy or how their lives would change. His mind kept returning to Mr. Henderson, the elderly man who had given him the lottery ticket, a stranger who had changed their lives forever. "I have to find him, Mom," Jamie said, his determination unwavering. "I have to thank him. He gave us this chance." His mother smiled, brushing her fingers through his hair. "You're right, Jamie. He's the reason for this. We owe him so much." And so, Jamie made it his mission to find Mr. Henderson. Every day he went to the park, hoping for a chance encounter. He asked around, spoke to the park's regulars, and even showed the ticket to the few who had seen him with the elderly man. But despite his best efforts, Mr. Henderson seemed to have disappeared. Day after day, Jamie returned to the park, waiting, hoping, and praying that he would find the man who had unknowingly set his life on a new path. His mother, too, took to searching, asking around the neighborhood and putting up flyers in case anyone had information about Mr. Henderson. Yet no one seemed to know where he had gone. A week passed, and just as Jamie was beginning to lose hope, he was walking home from the park when he spotted a familiar figure. It was Mr. Henderson, sitting on a bench, as though he had been waiting for Jamie all along. His heart leapt in his chest as he ran toward the elderly man, pulling his mother along behind him. "Mr. Henderson!" Jamie called out breathlessly. "It's me, Jamie, the boy from the park. You gave me the lottery ticket." Mr. Henderson looked up slowly, his expression calm and unreadable. As Jamie and his mother approached, he stood up, smiling softly, though his eyes seemed distant as if he had been expecting them. "I knew you'd find me," Mr. Henderson said with a slight chuckle. "I'm glad you're both well." Jamie's mother stepped forward, tears still glistening in her eyes. "We don't have enough words to thank you," she said, her voice trembling with gratitude. "You've changed our lives. This is a gift beyond anything we could ever imagine." Jamie nodded, clutching the winning ticket tightly in his hand. "Thank you. Thank you so much. We wouldn't be here without you. We owe you everything." Mr. Henderson shook his head and smiled gently. "It wasn't me, Jamie. It was you who deserved the luck. You're a good boy with a good heart. I simply gave you a small chance." Jamie looked at him, stunned. "But you gave me the ticket," he protested. "It was your kindness that made this happen." Mr. Henderson's gaze softened. "Sometimes life gives us chances, but it's what we do with them that matters. You helped me when I needed it most. And that, my boy, is what truly matters." Jamie's mother stood silently, watching the exchange between the two, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Mr. Henderson had given them more than money. He had given them hope, faith in humanity, and a reminder that kindness truly mattered. "We'll never forget this," Jamie said, his voice steady with emotion. "You're a part of our family now." Mr. Henderson smiled, nodding, as if the bond between them had already been formed long before. "You've got a bright future ahead of you, Jamie," he said. "Don't forget to keep doing what's right, no matter where life takes you. As Jamie and his mother walked away from the park, they felt a deep sense of peace. The lottery ticket had changed their lives, but it was Mr. Henderson's kindness that had truly given them a new lease on life. And they would carry that lesson with them, always. Jamie and his mother invited Mr. Henderson to dinner at their modest home, eager to express their gratitude and form a deeper connection. The evening was filled with warmth, as the three of them sat together around a small dining table, sharing stories, laughter, and food. Mr. Henderson, with his wealth and experience, shared tales of his past, and Jamie listened intently, fascinated by the wisdom that came with the older man's years. As they ate, Jamie insisted once again on sharing some of his newfound wealth with Mr. Henderson. "You gave us everything, Mr. Henderson. You saved us. Let me give you something back," Jamie said, his young voice earnest. But Mr. Henderson gently shook his head. "No, Jamie," he said with a soft smile. "It wasn't about money for me. It was about doing what's right. You don't need to give me anything. What matters is that you use your fortune wisely." Seeing Jamie's unwavering gratitude, Mr. Henderson decided to offer something even more valuable than money. He took out a small notebook and, with a careful hand, wrote down a list of financial advice and tips. "This is what I've learned over the years," he said. "It's not just about earning money. It's about making it work for you. I want you to have a future that's secure, Jamie." The advice was practical, yet profound, focused on long-term goals like investing, saving for education, and preparing for financial independence. As they spoke, Mr. Henderson helped them set up a trust fund for Jamie's education. He explained the importance of building wealth responsibly and securing their future. For the first time in a long while, Mr. Henderson felt a renewed sense of purpose. Seeing Jamie's bright, optimistic outlook and the love between Jamie and his mother, he realized that he had a chance to not only help them, but to also rebuild his own life. He started volunteering in the community, helping to mentor underprivileged children, just as he had mentored Jamie. He even took steps to reconnect with his estranged children, slowly rebuilding relationships that had been broken by years of distance and bitterness. Through Jamie's kindness and unwavering spirit, Mr. Henderson found himself transformed. He wasn't just the lonely, reclusive millionaire anymore. He was a man with a new sense of purpose, dedicated to helping others and passing on the lessons he had learned. His life had been changed by a single act of kindness, and now he was paying it forward. Jamie and his mother, emboldened by their new wealth, decided to use part of the winnings to improve the community that had supported them for so long. They began by renovating their neighborhood, transforming neglected buildings and abandoned spaces into something more vibrant. With Mr. Henderson's guidance, they established a community center, an inviting, safe space for children to learn, play, and grow. It became a hub for after-school programs, mentorship, and educational resources for kids who faced similar struggles to what Jamie once did. In addition to the community center, Jamie and his mother set up a scholarship fund to help underprivileged children pursue their education. They recognized that a better future often starts with access to opportunities, and they wanted to ensure that no child in their neighborhood would be left behind simply because of their financial circumstances. Jamie's act of selflessness had become a ripple effect that was reaching far beyond his own life. Mr. Henderson, with his vast experience and connections, contributed his expertise in managing wealth and community projects. He helped Jamie and his mother navigate the complexities of their newfound responsibilities, ensuring that their generosity was sustainable and well managed. With Mr. Henderson's mentorship, Jamie not only learned about finances, but also about the deeper value of investing in people and communities. As the years went by, Jamie grew into a young man of integrity, wisdom, and humility. He became a local hero, known not only for his courageous act of saving Mr. Henderson's life, but also for his unwavering commitment to giving back. He used his platform to inspire others, teaching them the importance of kindness and generosity. Whenever he spoke, he always credited Mr. Henderson for showing him the way. Success isn't just about what you have or what you can buy, Jamie often said. It's about what you do with it. Mr. Henderson taught me that the best way to live is by lifting others up. His words resonated with the community, and Jamie's example of using wealth for good became an inspiration. What started as one boy's act of kindness transformed an entire community, turning it into a place of hope and possibility. The impact of Jamie's story continued to spread, not only in their neighborhood but across the city, igniting a movement of giving and social responsibility that would endure for generations. Years had passed since Jamie's life had been changed forever by that fateful lottery ticket. Now, standing at the podium, his cap and gown neatly arranged, he looked out at the sea of faces in the crowded auditorium. Today was his college graduation, and it was a moment he had dreamed of, yet never truly believed would come to fruition. The life he had now was beyond anything he had ever imagined. He began his speech with a smile, his voice trembling slightly with emotion, as he remembered his late mentor, Mr. Henderson. "I stand here today because of the kindness of one person," Jamie began, his words ringing out in the silence. "Mr. Henderson didn't just give me money, he gave me hope." The audience sat still, hanging on his every word, as Jamie spoke of the man who had changed the course of his life. He recalled how Mr. Henderson had taken the time to listen to him, offered financial advice, and most importantly, showed him what it meant to be kind, humble, and generous. Despite his wealth, Mr. Henderson had never shown Jamie the disparity between their lives. Instead, he had treated him like family, a mentor who believed in Jamie's potential, long before Jamie ever truly believed in himself. "Mr. Henderson taught me that wealth isn't just measured by money," Jamie continued. "It's measured by what you give, who you help, and how you live." He showed me that the real value of life comes from lifting others up, not just from success, but from the kindness we share with the world. As Jamie finished his speech, the room erupted in applause, but his heart was heavy with grief. It had been a year since Mr. Henderson passed away peacefully in his sleep. Jamie had tried to fill the void left by his mentor by continuing their work together, expanding the community programs, mentoring other children, and using his education and success to further the causes Mr. Henderson had believed in so strongly. But there was still a part of him that felt incomplete without the old man by his side. That afternoon, after the ceremony, Jamie found himself standing in a quiet cemetery. He walked through the rows of graves until he reached Mr. Henderson's resting place. Kneeling down, Jamie placed an orange, one of the old man's favorite fruits, next to the gravestone. He had carried the fruit with him all day, a symbolic gesture of the humble beginnings that had brought him to this point. Next to the orange, Jamie placed a note that read, "You changed my life." Jamie sat in silence for a long time, remembering all the moments, lessons, and conversations he had shared with Mr. Henderson. The old man had taught him more than just how to manage money. He had shown him how to live a meaningful life. He had shown him the importance of community, kindness, and creating a lasting legacy. With a final nod and a tear in his eye, Jamie stood and walked away, knowing that Mr. Henderson's legacy would live on, not just in the programs they had started, but in every life Jamie touched from that moment forward. His journey was far from over, but he would carry the lessons of his late mentor with him every step of the way.